Okay, today I'm going to introduce you to a really cool application of ratios, and it's 3 trigonometric ratios called sine, cosine, and tangent. There's a special way to remember them, and it is SOHCAHTOA. And SO is SOH, which stands for sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Ca, which stands for cosine, is adjacent over hypotenuse, and then TOA, which stands for tangent, is opposite over adjacent. So sine, so, cosine, ca, adjacent over hypotenuse, TOA, tangent, opposite over adjacent. So the easiest way is just to kind of jump in and for me to show you a couple of examples. So let's look first at this one. Okay, so it asks you for the sine of B. So this right here is angle B. Okay, so everything that we're going to be doing is going to be in relation to angle B. So sine, I'm just going to write it over here to the side, is opposite over hypotenuse. So if we're looking at B, the side opposite of B, like across or opposite of B, is 15. And then all of these are going to be right triangles. And so this slanted side right here, the longest side, would be the hypotenuse. So it's the side opposite over hypotenuse. And then we're going to write that in simplest form, which is 5 over 8. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent means like next to. So which side is next to angle B? Well, this is the hypotenuse, so it's 18. 18 is next to or adjacent to angle B. So that would be 18 over the hypotenuse of 24. Those are both divisible by 6, and so that becomes 3 over 4. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite of angle B is 15, and then next to it is 18. Those are both divisible by 3, so it's 5 over 6. So down here we have the same triangle for the next example, but this time it's asking me to do sine, cosine, and tangent for letter C. So for C, okay, sine would be opposite, which is 18, over hypotenuse, which would be 24. The hypotenuse doesn't change, right? It's the one opposite the right angle. So 18 over 24 would be 3 over 4. Cosine is adjacent, so the side next to it is 15 over the hypotenuse is 24, so that becomes 5 over 8. And then tangent for angle C is the side opposite over the side adjacent. Those are both divisible by 3, and so that becomes 6 over 5. Okay, on this next example, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find n, our missing side. Then we're going to write the sine, cosine, and tangent of x as a fraction in simplest form. So first thing we need to do is figure out, well, what would this be? Well, that's the hypotenuse, so I know that I'm going to do 7 squared plus 9 squared equals n squared. 7 squared is 49. 9 squared is 81, and that equals n squared. So 49 plus 81, if I add those together, I get 130 equals n squared. So this is a skill from last chapter, right? I know that the square root of 144 is 12, and I know the square root of 121 is 11. So which one is it closer to? It's closer to 121, so we're going to estimate this side as 11. So now that I know that, I'm going to write the sine, cosine, and tangent of x. So opposite of x is 9 over the hypotenuse, which we just found is 11. Cosine is adjacent, so the side adjacent to x is 7 over the hypotenuse is 11. Tangent of x is opposite over adjacent, which is 7. Okay, on the next one, we're going to do the Pythagorean theorem again. This time we're missing one of the legs. So we're going to have to do 15 squared minus 12 squared equals n squared. So that's 225 minus 144 equals n squared. If I do 225 minus 144, I get 81 equals n squared, which means 9 has to be n. So this time again, it's asking us to write sine, cosine, and tangent of x. So if this is x, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So 12 over 15, which simplifies, I'm going to write it down here, to 4 over 5. Cosine is adjacent, the side adjacent to x, angle x, which is what it's asking me about. So that's 9 over the hypotenuse, which is 15. So that's 3 over 5. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. 12 over 9, which would become 4 over 3. And then the last example, okay, we're missing the hypotenuse. So we're going to do 8 squared plus 15 squared equals n squared. And so that gives me 64 plus 225 equals n squared. If I add 64 and 225, I get 289 equals n squared. And then the square root of 289 is 17. So this side is 17. So again, I'm doing it for x. So sine is the side opposite over the hypotenuse. Cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent.